All right. Now, okay. So, a couple things. So like I mentioned, I'm a left winger or whatever. That's how I see myself. And the way that I tend to put it is, I don't call myself like a specific party or align with a particular leader or whatever. Human beings are imperfect. You will fail yourself. So how can I not expect my leaders or other people to also disappoint me and to disappoint themselves and shit? So it's like I that's why I don't pledge allegiance to any particular group. I say that I'm a left winger, and depending on the issue, depending who I'm talking to, depending on the situation and whatever information is available, I could be seen as being a lefty by an inch. I could be seen as being lefty by a yard or lefty by a mile. You know what I'm saying? It varies. But ultimately, it's like I believe that the livelihood of people and the contentment of everyday people and their access to resources trumps the profit motive. I also believe in social, equality and representation and opportunity for people, no matter how small their group happens to be, represented in the population, and internationalism, which is basically that even though I don't think that anybody who just decides to come to the country should just immediately have 100% all the same rights and privileges and shit, as far as like being able to go and get health care or being able to, get food and get a housing, get a job and shit like that, I'm like, yeah, you're a human being. Like, you deserve, you have the right to speech and shit, not because, to me, not just because it's written down in the Constitution, but because if you can speak, that is your right to do so. If you can see, then that is your right to look. If you can think, that is your right to do so. You know what I'm saying? And, that should be, and wherever that is being suppressed, you know what I'm saying? No matter how they stand in relation to U.S., their relationship to the United States, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm with. I'm with, democracy. I am with freedom of speech and expression. I am with civil disobedience and dissent. You know what I'm saying? I'm with all those things. So, but a common thing that's associated with left wingers and a box that some people put themselves in or that the right wing tries to see us in, makes us constrained to, is not wishing for harm on our enemies or not reveling in the suffering of those whom make our lives hell. I don't agree with this. I don't see things that way. This is like every day is life or death. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that we're at warfare, that I'm always, but the thing is, everything is a matter of life is life is life. You know what I'm saying? This shit could end at any time. So while we're here, things should be as pleasant as possible, I think. And of course, I have my own idea of what pleasant means. The reason why I bring this up is 3 individuals whom have suffered some major setbacks, and I am very joyful of, and I am ready to bask in their shit. First of all, we'll start with the least. Actually, I don't know. I mean, these are all equally bad, but we'll start with one whom I think who y'all are probably not as familiar with. He was called Mad Mike Hughes, and he was a flat earther and a grifter. All his shit, he's a flat earther. He's somebody whom argued that the earth was flat, and it's, there's a secret cabal and conspiracy theory about, effort by all scientists in the world and shit to proclaim that the world is flat, when it's been known that the world is round for many, many, many centuries. I'm thinking like maybe I don't know how long it's been, but people have known that the world is round for a fucking long time. Okay, before we even had a fraction of the technology that we take for granted today. So the thing is, he's a conspiracy theorist. It's a grift. It's a way to get money off of gullible people, and people whom kind of just peddle in skepticism, whom they take skepticism to mean, I'm just going to question every single thing, you know what I'm saying, and not come to any real conclusions about shit. Or just question, like, oh, this comes from an authority, this comes from the government. Well, that must mean they're lying. That must mean it's a bunch of people in a smoky back room and shit conniving, against the people. Oh no, the medical board says this, and it has to be the complete opposite. No more vaccines, no more going to the doctor, blah 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 blah. And it's just like, it's once again just motherfuckers not knowing how to take context into a situation and assess that, like, yes, everyone has a voice, but not everybody knows what the fuck they're talking about. And some people are, in fact, very dishonest in looking to take advantage of the fact that some people don't know where to look for the right answers on information, on shit. So, that's that. So he died recently in a crash of his steam-powered little ship or whatever. And, no, I like the fact that he died. He was somebody that was spreading conspiracy theories. He's somebody who's been muddling the discourse, as they say, the conversation, by introducing all this bullshit. Because this is beyond skepticism. This is post-truth. This is, because the thing about a lot of these conspiracy theorists and shit is that a lot of them, they move beyond just flat out making up shit or using really flimsy connections. They, just like you could talk to an actual scientist from MIT or from NASA or something like that, and they can show you all the different, information and use all the different examples to explain why the world is round. The flat earthers have an equal amount of information and sources and people they can interview who will corroborate their side of the story. So post-truth, if you haven't heard the term before, basically just means it's using it's hearing all sides or hearing multiple sides of an argument, but then continuously going with the side that agrees with you, in spite of the fact that all of your information or all that you're conveying is easily disprovable. And it's not like people haven't, and something like the earth being flat, I'm sorry, I'm not entertaining that bullshit. I'm just not, it's like either you're a dumb fuck or you are a grifter. In either case, fuck off with you. You know what I'm saying? I don't need your company. I don't want it. I don't think you bring any value at all at any time or place. So he's dead, and the world is better for it, in my opinion. Another one who will soon be dead, but not soon enough, is Rush Limbaugh, who was diagnosed with lung cancer. And then I think Trump gave him a Medal of Freedom or whatever. I don't care. Once again, that's just more theater. I have really no feelings about it. That's what you do. You reward motherfuckers who you think represented your causes or who you think will piss off the opposition and shit. Trump knows what he's doing. But Rush Limbaugh, who's been spewing venom on right-wing radio for decades and is very much influential for not only how our politics are, but how people are so polarized, mainly the right-wingers and shit, because that's who he speaks to, demonizing the left wing, completely making up shit, using insults and demeaning language and stuff. And, so he's got lung cancer, and that's one of the most severe forms of cancer, and something that's really, you really don't come back from. Is usually a done deal. So he'll be out of the picture soon, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, And then there's Jordan Peterson, whom, if you don't know Jordan Peterson, he is a psychology professor from Toronto, Canada. And he gained notoriety first by protesting a bill that would add transgender folks to the list of already federally protected identities, such as indigenous folks or women, gay folks, and et cetera, right? And all this was doing was adding them to the same list of protections that was already present in other cities. It was just being finally implemented into, I guess, province or however Canada is divided up and shit. And he goes in there saying that, like, no, it's about making me have to use pronouns, and then if I don't use the proper pronouns, then I'll be fined and I'll be taken to jail. Well, that's fine. I won't pay the fine, and if I go to jail, then I'll go on a hunger strike. And he just made a huge stink around about this, and demonizing trans folks and making it seem like it's a evil cabal that just wants to control, saying everybody's thoughts and values and shit, when it's really just about them being recognized as human beings, just with a different set of experience and conditions to deal with. And no, he couldn't accept that because he's a social reactionary. He believes in the status quo. As a matter of fact, one of his quotes, one of his common refrains is about clean your room. Clean your room. Don't think about changing the world. It's not even possible. So just think about changing yourself, which is ironic because while he's saying, no, don't try to change the world, he first gained notoriety by taking this, huge moral stand, for him at least, no, I'm not going to obey this law. I'm not going to, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to push against this shit. It's like, if you didn't, it's hypocrisy. And the thing is, whether this is just from him being yet another grifter or somebody that's trying to monetize his hatred, you know what I'm saying, and his prejudice against this particular group, because he's sold millions of copies of his book, 12 Rules for Life. He's gone on all these different seminars and talks and shit, and all these different interviews with everybody from Joe Rogan to, various major news outlets and whatnot. So this dude, Jordan B. Peterson, has been making a killing off of demonizing trans people, and as he's put it on his own words on Joe Rogan Experience, he said that I've monetized the left, or I found a way to profit off of the left, which in and of itself, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, finding a way to come up, off of your enemies, but recognize what he's doing, and he's not a left winger. Okay, he's a reactionary. Okay, he believes in a strict hierarchy. He believes that, like, he uses the lobster example in comparison to humans, even though that shit doesn't fucking work. It's kind of his mascot. But he and then he dabbles in the type of psychology that he dabbles in, relies on archetypes, which is a construct of Carl Jung, who's along with Sigmund Freud, it's like we've left most of their contributions to psychology in the dust, and namely Jung, because it was playing more into like mythology, and that people follow these archetypes, or basically that people more or less line up into these particular roles, and it's just more or less just who you become, or where you're, what you're supposed to be in any way. Right? So he believes in strict hierarchies. He believes that activism, that activism trying to change the world is a fruitless effort, and that you should just clean your room and just focus on your internal world, right? And he demonizes trans people, and he demonizes the left, and he misrepresents the struggles of trans folks, and namely that Bill C-17, I forget. Anyway, long story short, so what happened to him is he got addicted to benzodiazepine. They're I believe they're muscle relaxers. Is that what they are? Anyway, it's a type of drug. It's a minor tranquilizer, right? So he got it prescribed from a doctor for depression and shit and whatnot. And it was because supposedly his wife had some type of cancer, but that actually kind of came and went fairly quickly, that it went into remission and whatnot. After she got the proper treatments. But he still had this addiction to benzos. And it's so ironic in that he suffered some paralysis and some brain damage, and is now in an induced coma out in a Russia medical facility and shit. And it's so ironic because he's like a lot of conservatives, a lot of right wingers. He's very much into that, personal responsibility and discipline, and not failing. Falling to these weaknesses and whatnot, and talking about that this is the way you should live your life. This is what will make you happy and leave you content and stable and shit. And none of that shit, fucking worked for him. And I don't just accept that, like, oh, he made a miscalculation or that he was wrong. It's like, no, this is a common thing, is that there's rules for thee, and then there's rules for me, right? But he's really not as strong and competent and well put together as he thinks, because tons of people are able to come off benzo addictions and not end up in the situation that he is. You know what I'm saying? He's just a very weak, frail person. And yet he makes an enemy out of people whom are, quote unquote, social justice warriors, or, neo-Marxist, social justice warrior, postmodernist, you know what I'm saying? He's one of those motherfuckers. So, yeah, the fact that he's fucked up, and in some ways permanently, I'm completely with that. I mean, whatever, fuck him. You know, fuck him, fuck all his goddamn followers. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, you know what I'm saying, y'all are so quick to dismiss the identity and the experiences of other people and think that the mere existence of other people is a threat to you. And the moment that you want to defend or make your own points is all about, oh, we need to preserve our culture and a space for us and shit. Y'all play right into identity politics. So the issue isn't identity politics. It's all about the side which you're on. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm supposed to sit here and be like, no, it's okay for the monarchists and the reactionaries and the fucking neo-Nazis and the white supremacists and the nationalists of all kinds, and the religious fanatics and the grifters and all those people. No, even if I disagree with them, I'm supposed to be okay with them existing. But other people, you know what I'm saying, telling me, or the people that I love and care about, or the people that I just think deserve to live a happy life, you know what I'm saying, need the space and representation and the access to resources that these other motherfuckers do, and all of a sudden it's trampling over your culture, it's threatening your identity. Well, you know what? Fuck your goddamn culture then. Fuck you. And fuck Mad Mike Hughes, and fuck Rush Limbaugh, and fuck Jordan Peterson.